traditional medical knowledge.
The eBorneo Knowledge Fair is an exercise in engagement between researchers and their audiences. The audiences include communities like Baklaland, which is where we are, but also government officials and development professionals from the various NGOs and development agencies that also join us. So we hope that by doing that they can get an immersive experience in the rural realities of life in the highlands here in northern Sarawak and understand the problems and issues that communities here face from direct experience. Well, I think it works for the communities that we work with because we're not taking them out of their comfort zone. They're working with us in their own environment. We're on their home turf. And you know, many academic conferences take place in hotels in capital cities. These are not normally the place that you find rural farmers and people from remote and isolated villages. And if they do go there, they feel uncomfortable. So we like to work on their home ground, make them feel comfortable, attract more participation, and to promote better and more informed contributions from them in their own language, in their own homes, their own environment. And I think it works better that way. We get more information from them, we're able to share more with them, and the whole exercise becomes a much more immersive and experiential event. Well, yes, we have evidence of that, and it's clear from the participation that we've been able to facilitate from the residents in the various workshops that we hold. And we structure the workshops in a way that makes it easy for people to contribute by organising groups around tables, 6 or 8 people at a time. It seems to be an environment in which people are willing to talk, willing to share their ideas, where you don't get 1 or 2 people dominating the discussions, and where people are relaxed. And you know, the first time we did this, the problem I thought that we'd had would be to get people actually talking. But it turned out the problem that we had was to get them to stop talking within the time that we'd allocated. So I think that's an indication that we've created an environment that's conducive to sharing knowledge, sharing ideas. And that's why we hold the event in places like Baklaland. Well, it's early days yet, although this is the 5th time we've done this. But this event is kind of a wild idea. We don't call it a conference in the first place. We call it a knowledge fair, so it's much more about exchanging knowledge, whereas conferences, typically academic conferences, are much more about imparting knowledge. So you have one person on the stage talking for 45 minutes and then maybe 5 minutes Q&A with the audience. We try to flip-flop that model on its head, and we ask the academics to tell their story in 5 or 10 minutes and then get 45 minutes or more discussion with the audience. So in that sense it's a bit out of the ordinary in terms of straightforward academic conferencing. But you know, a lot of academic research never sees the light of day outside of the academic arena. It certainly doesn't reach places like this, like Baklaland. Even research that could impact the lives here, could improve life for people here, would rarely find its way here. It gets published in journals, arcane journals that nobody here would ever read. They would hardly be able to get access to them, and even if they did, they wouldn't understand them. So we don't want to conduct research like that. We want our research to have an impact on local life in the highland communities in northern Sarawak. And that's why we come here, to understand the problems and the challenges, to get researchers to explain exactly what solutions they've found and where the communities are likely to adopt them or not, and if not, what are the problems and what other problems could we examine through our research. Well, if they're interested to come here, that's half the challenge, actually. I mean, for many people this is an interesting place. For me it's a delightful place to visit, and I would do this for pleasure. But everybody's not the same. For some people it's not exactly their cup of tea. But for the postgraduates who do come here, I think it's a good opportunity to learn about the idea of engaging with audiences, understanding problems that people have which might find solutions through the research which they conduct, And to me, it seems like an inspiration for people who are genuinely interested in not only building their career as an academic, but also in having their research taken up by people who can actually use the results from it. And there's nothing more satisfying than that. I can testify to that from my own experience. Well, we'd like to see more participation from government officials and also policymakers. We've had participation like that in the past, but not enough of it. Whatever results from our research, whatever they say, they will usually advise government policymakers as well as officials, and also professionals in the development industry. So they need also to understand exactly what the problems are here. They need the kind of immersive experience to understand the issues that are faced by communities like Backler and others in the Highlands for exactly the same reason that the researchers do. Well, we're always learning, you know, and we're always trying to get better. We're slowly bringing in people from outside Malaysia. We've had visitors from the United Kingdom, from Australia and from America, and that's very heartening that those people can find interest in what we're doing here, and then they go to extreme lengths to actually get here, so because it's a hard journey from such long distances. And we don't know how far that can take us, but it's interesting that other institutions are becoming involved. Other than that, we'd like more participation, of course, from the residents, more contribution from them. We have to find ways of facilitating better ways of doing that. And of course, also the logistics are always a challenge, getting people up here, finding accommodation, although we've been beautifully looked after this time in terms of accommodation and lodging. But that's always a bit of a logistical nightmare, actually, and we can probably get better and more efficient at that. But overall, we're unearthing so many interesting topics that concern the communities here, and the real challenge now is not so much organising the knowledge fair, but what we do with the results that come out of the fair. How do we as researchers go back and identify the problems that we've learned about here in ways that we can structure them into viable research projects that, as I say, can deliver benefits to the residents. Well, I only say to anybody who has an interest in helping indigenous peoples, conducting research that can change and improve the lives and help communities like Backler to preserve the pristine environment in which they live, you'll be very welcome.